the time is now 6 p.m. Therefore, I call to order the meeting of the City of Gerald Impact Fee Committee for July 8th, 2025. Commissioners, please ensure that you're speaking directly into your microphone. For the official recording, please state your name for the record each time you do speak. The committee consists of volunteers appointed by the City Council. They coordinate with city staff, owners, developers, and agents, and residents to provide the City Council with independent, objective, and coordinated evaluations and recommendations of land use assumptions and impact fee reviews. I will call on each commissioner and note commissioners present and absent. Secretary Candler? Here. Commissioner Bryson?
Here.
Chairman Ray has an excused absence. Commissioner McLean? Here. And Vice Chair Oliver has an excused absence. We do have a quorum, at least 3 commissioners present, and if we could silence all cell phones and electronic devices at this time, and Commissioner Bryson will lead us in invocation.
Stand with me.
Yes, sir.
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we come to you today, this evening, to ask for your guidance in all things, especially in our comments and our actions that will benefit the city of Gerald and the residents of the city of Gerald. Make you lead, guide, and direct us in all our decisions and input. Thank you for your Son Jesus. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
And now the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, at this time, comments will be taken from the audience on any matter for a length of time not to exceed 3 minutes per person. To address the Impact Fee Committee, please clearly state your name and address for the Planning and Development City Planner prior to making a comment. No action may be taken by the committee during public comments. Are there any citizens who wish to speak on any matter? All right, no public comments. I will now close the public comment portion of this hearing. And now we will move on to receive and discuss a presentation relating to the 2025 proposed impact fees. So you all did receive a report last week on email. It was the half report, impact fee report from 2024. Since that time, KPA and Nugent mostly KPA have been gracious enough to update that and make some amendments to it to include some capital improvement projects that needed to be included. With that report, sorry, let me get this going. Hey, I have a copy of the proposed report right here. This is just not the system that I am familiar with, right? Just wanted to show on the other one. I don't know if it's going to show on the big screen, y'all. Are you going to be okay if it's not on? You got it? You good? Okay, so it's on their screens in front of them. It's just not on that one. Okay. So the agenda for this evening is the purpose of the impact fee report, timeline, land use assumptions, growth projections, capital improvement plans, impact fee comparisons, and next steps. So impact fees, some of y'all may be familiar with what impact fees are. They're typically what a city or municipality can charge for future growth, for infrastructure, for future growth. What we do is look at a land use assumption, determine what is probably the best use for this area of land, determine what the density of that land will be, residential, commercial, high density, low density, mixed use. And from that we determine what capital improvement projects would need to happen to support growth in that area. And from that determination, we estimate the cost of those capital improvement projects. And per state law, so just to make easy math, if that capital improvement projects were $20,000, the state says that the city has to pay for half of that, so $10,000, and we can defer half of that cost over to a developer. So we could, if there was 10 lots in that subdivision, then they would each be charged $1,000, their proportionate cost for that infrastructure to be installed. State law does say that we have to have an impact fee committee, which is this body right here. You do have to meet twice, so we're going to meet twice this year, twice moving forward. And legislation did change this year, that any impact fees that are not adopted prior to September 1st, thank you, you have to wait 3 years for readoption, so that's why we're fast tracking the adoption of these impact fees. So I do have NewGen and KPA here to back up, and then the timeline for the impact fees. This is the timeline passed and moving forward. So in April 2022, MRB was contracted by the city to do their wastewater master plan. July of 2022, HAP Associates was contracted by the city to conduct a water master plan. June of 2024, HAP Associates was again contracted by the city to conduct the impact fee report. It was completed, but never presented to the impact fee committee or city council, so it's sat stagnant for the last year. June of this year, there was an addendum to the 2021 CIP plan conducted by KPA engineers, and then moving forward in August, consideration and adoption of the new impact fees prepared by NewGen, and then that deadline that we did just talk about, the State Bill 1883 for the 3-year moratorium on adopting new impact fees. So I'm gonna roll this over to Sam, Trey, somebody with KPA to discuss the.
I got the short straw.
Sorry.
You're fine. You're fine. Trey Seven, KPA Engineers. We are working with City of Gerald, has been for almost a year now, doing city engineering, supporting them in city engineering. A little bit more to this timeline. In December, I believe it was, December of last of 24, council authorized us to go through and update the water and wastewater master plans. As part of that, we're going to evaluate everything. Those plans won't be done until late fall of 25, early winter of 26. And so that was one of the reasons why it was kind of important to go ahead and move forward with the current HAF report and MRB report, along with the impact fee, is to go ahead and get that implemented now, because as of September 1, as Yvonne said, it'll be 3 years before you can reevaluate those. And with that bill, it's going to take about a year with the new requirements in order to get any updated fees changed. So once we have the new master plans completed with the updated projection, the updated project costs, we'll come back and probably have to do this again starting next summer in order to meet the 3-year timeline with the requirements of public hearings and comment period times. Instead of 90 days or like 6 months, it really is stretching it out longer. So it's really imperative to move forward with what is proposed, and then we'll redo this again towards the end of next year, 26. We'll start that process again based off the updated master plans. So
based off what?
the updated water and wastewater master plans that we're working on currently. You're fine. Yeah, and so one of the things that we have in here as we go through these things, you'll have a lot of the proposed growth areas. I'm going to go to the water if you want to go to the next slide. This was based off the water master plan that HAP prepared in 2022. And it has their assumptions when they were utilizing those. So we want to try to keep as close to the report as possible, so we can move forward with the proposed recommended update fees that NewGen created for the next meeting. So this is basically the growth areas and the UEs that were presented as part of that master plan. The next slide has the proposed wastewater planning area. They'll be slightly different in our report when we move forward. Just some updated information and some more things as we go through that. But that's just the general mapping area of the wastewater. Now, y'all are very unique in that your water area, the city of Gerald, has basically 3 different water providers. So your service area particularly is mainly I-35 and west. You have 2 different service providers that provide water to the east. But your wastewater, you're the only wastewater provider in the region, in this area. So you serve wastewater where you don't necessarily serve water. So that's why they're a little bit different. In this master plan that was prepared by MRB, and they did the wastewater master plan back in 2022. What we have here on the next slide is the growth projections that were developed as part of the HAP master plan and their data and their information. When we go moving forward with the updated master plan. There'll be slight revisions to this. But in general, this is data they've used and to develop their current master plan that has been presented to the city previously. And the same thing for the wastewater. I mean, you get into some more economic stuff, not necessarily engineering, as far as just demographic and things like that. Those percentages look pretty good to me. How's that sound? So let's jump to the CIP stuff. That's really the nuts and bolts that get you the fees that you need to get. Basically what happens is with these master plans, you'll develop a 10-year CIP plan for both water and wastewater. That plan is then presented. There is a percentage of that plan that is for new growth. There's a percentage of that plan that is benefiting existing customers. You cannot utilize the cost of that is. So you have to break out the percentage that are going to be existing customer utilizing this infrastructure. That can't be calculated in the CIP cost, or not CIP, but the impact fee cost. So the impact fee that generates. So we have to develop. Basically, what happened is have do a pretty good job of developing the proposed infrastructure costs that are due over the next 10 years, and then you're not getting 100% of that cost to go to your impact fee, because there's a portion of it that all of y'all will use, the whole city will use, that you can't recoup that through impact fees. So for water, it was based off, about the 22 master plan. We went through that. We're a lot farther along on the water side of the master plan, and through our evaluation, one of the things that Half's master plan did not take into consideration is future water sources. We know that what the current master plan that they have will take you to about 2030-ish or so, but by 2035 you're going to need an alternate source or another source of water. So what we did is we went through and evaluated projects that were in the Half report that are already completed. So if those are already completed, we have to remove them from consideration of impact fees. There's those, if you can see this, that's what's in orange, or pinkish orange color. The yellowish color, mustard color, whatever you want to use. I like using pastels. These are ones that were in the master plan that we have we have no comments on, or which comments regarding those. So those costs are included with the proposed impact fees. And in the green one, you can see at the bottom, those are addendums that we issued via the memo that we did earlier in June, or mid-June, late June. These are ones mainly for an additional water source on the north side of town. There's a water source that's been identified. These are costs that are associated with that water source for the development and growth in that area. We feel that we need to include those in this addendum to start capturing the costs that are going to be needed for those by that 2032 to 2035 range. So these are things that are going to be for new growth, and so those costs are being included in this impact fee study that NewGen will then utilize those numbers to come up with the final per unit cost for water. Okay. If you have any questions, please feel free to stop and ask me, and I will point to Sam. But we will be more glad to answer. I'll point to Andrea. I didn't introduce Andrea. Andrea Campbell's with NewGen. The 10-year CIP for wastewater, this was done by Half as well. We went through and reviewed their proposed 10-year CIP with the city staff, as well as NewGen. There were a small portion of those projects, about a fourth of them were completed, so those would be removed from this consideration. The remainder of those projects we left in, that then can be utilized for this impact fee. Now, with that being said, this is proposed 10-year CIP plan. When we do our updated master plan, there'll be an updated version of this. They'll be maybe very similar or maybe slightly different, and those will be funds will be utilized to help calculate the next one. So the next slide is what your existing impact fees are. So right now, your existing impact fee for water is $2,000 per LUE. Your wastewater is $3,334 per LUE. Now, LUE, I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. It's a living equivalent unit. It's basically a lot. In essence, that's kind of the language way to do it, but there's a different specific calculation for LUEs and how you can present that. So everything is calculated based off LUEs, so that's why we all refer to LUEs. So right now, that's what your existing impact fee. There hasn't been any recommendations or adoption by what HAP currently has. That's why we're going through this process now and updating it to allow us to adopt those prior to the September 1 deadline, so you can get those new numbers, because these are low. Your current ones are low, based off what we have. So New Gen will be calculating those over the next couple of weeks. In your next meeting, which I believe is in August, they will present that, the accounting math
The numbers.
on how to get to your final impact fee. They do a wonderful thing about that, and I look at it and I'm like, I'm an engineer, and I'm like, okay, that's beautiful. So it'll be beautiful.
Is it color coordinated?
Yeah.
We can ask Melissa.
So is it color coordinated?
I hope so. I like color coordination, I like bolding. Bold the important stuff so I can see it, you know what I mean? All right, so the next comparison the next slide is the impact fee comparison. So that kind of tells you where you are in relation to everybody in the area. So for example, you're 2,000 for water, you're 3,300 currently for wastewater. Cedar Park is 3,000, very similar. Round Rock is, almost 5,000 for water and 3,000 for wastewater. Gerald Schwartner is 8,750 for water. We recently just redid theirs about last year, I think it was, and updated.
Theirs is a different process because they're a water supply.
Correct. They are a water supply corporation. They are not an entity, so the way they're processed in is a little different. But overall, there's a lot of. I wouldn't be surprised if your water number, I don't want to say it's going to be that high, but it's going to be going up because y'all are all in the same boat as far as needing more water for this region. And so the most expensive portion of needing more water is the water source and the water treatment. The distribution, the elevated tank, that's kind of more of a minor cost overall compared to what those other bigger costs are. And so that's why your water, that's why you'll see, like for Round Rock, Georgetown and these others, their water costs are really, really high. We said many years ago that at some point water is going to be as more expensive and more valuable than oil, especially in Texas. You can go through the round and look down through there and see, the water column. You look at Pflugerville. Pflugerville's $1,400, almost $1,500 just for water, and $1,400 for
14,000.
14,000. Sorry. I get to talking, my mind says it, but my mouth does not. But you can see the difference. Your water's gonna start out really outpacing your wastewater as you move forward, presenting and updating your master plans and evaluations as you grow. And that's just telling sign of a growing city and a growing community. Those are things that the growing pains are things that you have to do. The important thing of this is these fees are to have new growth pay for new growth, and not have existing customers have to pay for new growth. That's the whole purpose of what these are. It shouldn't be the existing customer's responsibility to bear the cost of new growth and new infrastructure that's needed. So that's what these fees are. So as they go through and they get updated, that's what will be presented at the next meeting. The next one is the next steps. Like I said, in July, as we go through this, Andrea and her team will be going through and updating the cost based off what the HAP report was plus our amended memo. They'll have a second public hearing that they're required to have as part of this process at the next council meeting on August 5th. Then August 12th, you'll have your next meeting, which is the presentation of the actual fees and the adoption of that. So what this meeting is really the background to get you to where the fees are going to be. And then on the 19th, the city will have their special council. They'll have a special council meeting in August to have their second public hearing to adopt the fees based off your recommendations. And that is my last slide. Is that your last slide? Good. I'm sorry I didn't do that. So that is the last slide. I am here to answer any questions I can. I also have Sam here, who's done a lot of the legwork for this. He's a lot better speaker and more eloquent than I am. But if y'all have any questions, we're more than welcome to ask, and we're more glad to try to answer them.
Fire away.
That's a lot of information very quickly. I talk fast.
Now, You gave us an overall picture of the water and the wastewater, the impact fees. Is there a differentiation between the city of Gerald proper and outside lying areas that we take care
So
of, as far as
this,
wastewater or
Yeah.
water?
so this is based off your CCN and your planning.
Now, you're going, I don't understand.
Okay, so it's kind of like school district boundaries, city limit boundaries, they're all kind of
Take it
different.
back to that plan.
Yeah, you
The water boundary.
Yeah, so if you go back to the overall map, the planning area, the boundary, that's the boundary that they planted. So it's outside the city limits, but it's within the area, the service area for water and wastewater that the city has. There's some that may go extended a little bit farther into someone else's service area, but it's, when you look at the contours and the grading, the locations and the facilities, it makes a lot more sense for Gerald to serve that than someone else. For example, City of Georgetown wraps Gerald and goes all the way almost to Salem. That was part of the Chisholm Trail acquisition many years ago. Georgetown has said repeatedly and has released the CCN in these areas where other entities make sense to serve. So for example, Gerald, which is adjacent to this, has a facilities and infrastructure next to it. It makes a lot more sense for Gerald to do that. And so Georgetown will release those areas to Gerald. You know, the only cost to them is the legal fees to swap it. You know, they're not gonna pay, you're not gonna buy it from them. They're like, hey, you pay for the legal fee to submit it to PUC and done, and then it's yours. And so this plan basically is your service area or your planning area that you intend to serve. And that's what these infrastructure costs are based off of.
But you didn't tell me whether or not there was gonna be a difference in what it was gonna cost to service outside areas that are in that.
No, I understand. So
That's what I'm asking you.
So what you're asking is, if you're not inside the city limits, but you're getting City of Gerald services, is there a cost difference there?
That's correct.
Okay, that is,
Because
yeah,
the city of Gerald is liable for all expenses with wastewater, for instance.
correct. And so that would be a decision based off city staff and governance. Okay, are they gonna be required to annex into the City of Gerald in order to get service? Or are we gonna charge them a different fee or a different rate to get services from Gerald? For example, City of Belton and other areas they have those that are serviced within the city limits. And those that serve outside of that, there's a different rate if they don't annex in.
Are we talking impact fees or are we
Utility
talking?
rates.
I think you're talking about impact fees is different, but this is
He's
what we're
asking
talking about.
about impact fees.
Yeah, there's not a difference as far as inside or outside as far as impact fees goes. It's the decision on whether or not the City of Gerald requires that development to be annexed in.
For you to.
Well, I'm not saying we need to annex
Right.
one way or the other. I'm just saying what is fair, because the city of Gerald is responsible for all the interest and the monies borrowed
Mhm.
in
And that
that waste
entity,
treatment plant out there.
so I would say the way you look at that is, don't look at city limits, you look at ratepayers.
Look at what,
Ratepayers.
that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, so ratepayers, whether they're in the city or out of the city, they're all, that money they get is going to your utility fund to take care of all that information, all that money.
But they're still not responsible for any expenses incurred at that waste treatment plant. The city of Gerald is responsible.
No, they're paying that in their rate.
But they're not paying any different rate than we are.
Right.
That's not fair.
But you're not paying a rate either.
Pardon?
You're not paying a rate. This is for future development.
I know, but
Well,
presently I am paying a rate.
Well,
And I
I would,
wanted to, if you're gonna put an impact fee, why is the impact fee not greater on the outside area that we're providing service?
so I would say, the
rather
way I would
than
look at
the
this
city?
is school district. Look at your
Yes.
your wastewater and water service areas of school district. Whether you live in the city of Gerald or outside the city of Gerald, if you're a Gerald ISD student, you pay a Gerald ISD tax. Okay? It's the same tax whether you're in or out,
Right.
based off the value of your property. When it comes to utility fees, impact fees or whatever, the infrastructure going out that's what that impact fee is to pay for. So those individuals that are paying that impact fee on that lot, they're paying for the infrastructure to get out there. The rates that they're paying, because the capacity expansion, because that includes expansion of wastewater plants, it pays for all that. The O&M costs that occur at the wastewater plant or any treatment you need for water, or any infrastructure, electricity costs at pump stations. That's all built into your rates. And those ratepayers are paying that rate just like everybody else. And they have to pay that rate in order to get a service. Does that make sense? Is that,
I understand they have to pay a rate to get service, I
Yeah.
understand that wholeheartedly.
yeah,
But I don't think it's fair for the citizens of Gerald proper to pay the same rate, or those outside the Gerald proper are paying the same rates or less than the citizens of Gerald.
they would not be paying this less rate than the city. It would be a consistent rate. Now, what I would say is the impact fee doesn't change whether you're in the city of Gerald or outside the city of Gerald. Those are fixed costs for the infrastructure improvements going out. The second discussion, which is separate from this, is the rates. The average rate they pay per gallon for water or wastewater, for O&M and everything else. That's a discussion from city staff and governance of whether or not there's a different cost in charging those outside of the
So
city.
you're saying the city has to determine the impact fees for outside?
No, the impact fees are, there's two different things we're talking about. The impact fee is the infrastructure costs that are required to go out there, okay? So these impact fees that are being built in here, that are gonna be presented, are costs to get infrastructure to these areas.
Okay, I got you.
And so the existing citizens will not pay a dime for that. That's what this is for, is the existing costs that we take out are the benefits that the existing customers are gonna get out of it. The stuff that we're keeping in to the impact fee, those are, things that the new customers have to do, whether they're city limits or not in city limits. They have to pay that, and the citizens of Gerald will not. The rate study, or the rates, will be a different thing. Those are O&M, and y'all.
We're going through that process right now.
Yeah, y'all can do that later, and y'all can make that determination on that.
Now, when you're doing your study on because I'm using this right here that I've got on service units, when you determine, like, you're using a water pipe that goes into the meter to determine the LUEs or the unit
Mhm.
on the to determine wastewater is a unit, and it's 3/4 of an inch or thereabouts is 1 unit.
Okay.
So how do you determine, if somebody's on the wastewater treatment plant, for instance, hooked up, but is not using water,
Not using.
running through a meter? It has a well.
Mhm.
Now what are you gonna do? Because we do have one.
Yeah, and I think that's really more for rates, not impact fees again.
Well,
So
You're right, but it's-
impact fee, but I think that at that point, you could make an assumption that if it's a residential property, it would more than likely have a 3/4 inch meter, or if it's
Yeah,
multiple
but you
houses.
have
you
no
have
way
that-
of measuring the water.
We don't measure the water, we measure the type of meter that they would have to have
Okay,
on that
but if they
house.
have, so you have 1 LUE if they have a meter. If they don't have a meter because they have a well, what do you do now? And they have wastewater
Is this,
through our system.
okay, so is this one property in the city that might be like this, or
Oh,
maybe
there's
5 to
a
10?
commercial property that
Okay.
is like that
Okay, so
in
then
this city, in the city of Gerald.
we'll probably have to seek guidance on how to handle those particular
Yes.
considerations.
Cause that one's getting by with, well, anyway.
I know which one you're talking about, we'll figure
Okay.
that out, okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
so,
a-
yeah.
But it does have
But
an
he's not
impact.
gonna get charged impact fees. He's already existing.
I know he is, but he got by with it,
But.
so to speak. I know he can't do that bad, but we have, right now, RV parks are popular. You see them all over, everywhere. How are we gonna handle an RV park that has a well, but wants wastewater? How do you
Well,
determine
for
the impact fee
them,
for
for them, you would utilize an average billing for a whatever equivalent living unit for
Yes.
an RV is. Now, the disadvantage for him is, that site may not be always occupied, but you're billing him monthly as if it is.
So if, what he's asking is if the RV park doesn't have a water meter and they're gonna come in and develop, how do we determine how much LUEs to charge them?
Well, it's based off per RV unit, there's a,
I understand.
there's a calculation, so you can say there's so many, so for TCEQ, one RV spot is equivalent to 0.25 LUEs. And so we would take the total number, multiply by 0.25 to get how much this impact fee would be.
Okay.
So there's a standard unit for converting school districts, school district, schools, daycares, large, commercial type deals that it's tough to equip. How do you equate that? It's based on square footage and other things you can go through and calculate that.
So I think if that particular instance were to come into play again, Mr. Rice, then we'd have to build that into an agreement, then this is how we were going to assess your LUVs. based
Well,
on-
But a school district is based on its water usage. How do you determine what to charge a school, for instance? How do you know what to charge a school, or how do you know what to
yeah,
charge?
so like TCEQ has a chart that will tells us, okay, a school that has, if so many kids or so many people in there equal this many LUEs, living equivalent. So if it's 10 kids per one LUE, or 10 persons per one LUE equivalent, we say that's a 500 unit, or 500 side, 500 kid or 500 person capacity building, you calculate it that way. So you divide it by the 10, you get the 50 LUE count, and that's how much they impact.
So the impact fee on a school would be what? I mean, how much bigger is
Depends
it?
on what
larger
their,
is it than-
depends on what their capacity would be.
Yeah, the bigger the
That's why I say
capacity.
just pick 1,000, because most of the schools.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know the conversion off the top of my head, but there's a conversion factor that we use for different types of properties that are not residential, to equate them to a living unit. So a school of 1,000, say it's, 1 LUE per, 10 kids, or 10 units, so, that's 100 LUEs times the cost of the wastewater or water.
How do you determine the cost for impact for a restaurant?
Same thing. There's a capacity based off the capacity of the restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah, they have them for commercial gas stations, they've got them
So
for,
kind of like parking ratio, like
Yeah.
based off of your square footage or based
yeah,
off of
based on your square footage, how many restrooms you have inside of it, if you have a kitchen inside of it. There's all these factors that go into it, because, your gas stations or your commercial facilities, like your warehouse and stuff, warehouses are very small water and wastewater users, so those are they based off how many number of holes you have in there, how many sinks, how many restrooms, how many floor drains are going to wastewater. You calculate that based on square footage and you get your unit. And you take that equivalent unit and that's how much you apply to that development. So, they have,
How you
it
determine
can be
the
very,
LUEs to determine your impact.
yeah, it can be very confusing, but yeah, they have, there's a conversion factor for all types of development. So it makes it very easy for staff when a development comes in and they're trying to calculate that, they can do it for water and for wastewater. And if someone's coming into your wastewater service area but not your water, you apply that, okay, here, if you're gonna get wastewater, here's the cost that go to it, and here's the impact fee based off that.
And if they decide to come back and get water, you're gonna hit them with an impact fee again.
Yeah.
Just ask
Yeah, oh, yeah.
for what?
Mhm.
Would you hit them again with an impact?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah, because that would be a new connection to our water.
And typically, if they're coming in, they're gonna come in one boat. We have, matter of fact, we have more people that will come in and get the water, not the wastewater.
Yeah.
They're a lot of, it's crazy, back in the day, developers and developments, if you didn't have wastewater, they didn't come talk to you. Now you've got 400 lot subdivisions showing up, or 300 lot subdivisions with water all day long, but they're putting septic. It's just a different world we live in, a growth world.
So water's not gonna be here all day.
That's why we're trying to develop these additional sources. Good. I hope that answers.
It helped me.
Okay,
It
thank
helped
you.
me, and I appreciate it, because, those things I'm trying to understand, how
Yeah.
you calculated your,
Mhm.
going to what impact.
Yeah.
We gotta make a decision
Yeah.
on that coming up, and we're gonna listen to the recommendation of the
Mhm.
impact fee, and I just kinda want
Yeah.
to kind of get a feel.
So like I said, your impact fee will be the same whether you're inside or outside. Your rates will be something that you can determine in a different way.
So
And like I said, most people that are coming in from the development side or whatever are gonna wanna annex in if they're close enough, mainly because there's other services they wanna be provided, there's fire, police, and things like that. So there's a lot of other things that kind of go through that.
Did either one of y'all have questions?
My brain's going 1,000 miles.
So mine.
Anything you want to clarify, you know?
I guess just kind of talking out loud, I see these fees and we're the lowest on the totem pole here. And we're talking about RV parks and we're talking about this and that and the different types of sources. Do they all end up coming and paying the same fee if they want to do a subdivision or an RV park or something?
Yeah, it'll all be calculated back out to, so we'll calculate, so those are really geared towards subdivisions. And so what they've done is they've gone back through and created a calculation that that is adopted, that's general adoption, that's not favorable one way or the other. That's pretty fair of, okay, this is how many LUEs equivalent that a commercial or an RV park or whatever would be. They equivalent back down to that LUE. And so that's why they don't call it like a residential lot.
Makes
You know,
sense.
they call it an LUE. And so they can utilize that to base it and say, okay, so everybody will be paying their fair share. Basically, when they come.
Cost, is that part of the developer that assumes this and then it gets trickled down to the?
So basically what'll happen, it'll be built into.
Usually the builder. will
Yeah.
report it.
So what'll happen, it'll, at the end of the day, it's all gonna be the consumer that buys the house that will be paying for it overall. So it'll be built into the lot cost that will then go from there. Whether it's the builder that pays it or the developer that pays it, some do differently. If the developer pays it, he just, instead of being a $20,000 lot, it may be a $30,000 lot, you know.
So typically what happens is when they do their final plat, we assess the fees at that time, tell them this is how much you're going to be charged, and when they issue building permits for each individual lot is when they get charged for those compact fees separately.
So, one last question, how is this compared to a MUD? Like, what is these fees, and then you see communities that have MUDs, right, what are the,
So so MUDs have two different ways they do things. One, they have a MUD tax. And so their MUD tax can be as much as the city tax, or
Yes.
more. And and you have some that are in city MUDs. And so what they do basically is they go issue bonds on, so the MUD will go issue bonds on the improvements that are needed to serve the development. So basically what the city does is, okay, you're a MUD, you're coming in here, here's the infrastructure, we need water, wastewater from you. Okay, well, here's the cost. Okay, well, then the MUD is gonna assume the cost. They're gonna go issue bonds on that cost over 30 years, and then they're gonna turn around and charge a MUD tax. And then that MUD tax reimburses every year. And it's a profitable thing for the MUD because if not, they wouldn't do it. And so that's the difference.
a one-time fee?
Yes.
Got it,
Yes.
thank you.
So, yes, because it doesn't matter whether you buy the house 4 times or whatever, the first shot in, the infrastructure cost to do is what got that.
Okay.
So yeah, every time someone buys a house, you wouldn't issue it again. If someone demos that house and comes back and put another one on, as long as it's the same type,
Same meter size.
same meter, same everything, then they wouldn't be charged again. If they're gonna go develop, they wanna go tear down a commercial area and put in an apartment complex or,
Then we
and
reassess.
then there's a reassessment that has to go with doing the cost would be applied to that.
Got it. Thank you.
How long ago was this 2,000 figure established?
21,
The wastewater is 21,
the water,
the water, I don't know, that's
You don't
even
know how
further
long ago?
back.
Yeah, it's been a while.
so at least 4 to 5 years.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, I'd probably say longer than that, it's been a while.
I think probably closer to 6 or 7 years, if I remember correctly, on like the first one.
It's been quite a while, so yeah, there's not been any change, which is why we think it's very important to go ahead and move forward with this. Because of the way the laws are being changed, we wanna make sure that we start recouping some of the costs that are gonna be incurred by the city, so existing customers don't have to.
Now, what's gonna be the maximum we can raise that impact fee?
We're not there yet.
I mean, I'm just asking.
Well, and so-
Can we take an average of all those?
No.
That's
We
not
can't
enough.
use those.
That's fine,
Yeah.
I believe that.
Okay,
So this right here
purely informational.
I got it.
This
That's
is,
pretty
is
amazing.
just supposed to give you the land use assumptions, the growth, for you to see all of that. I will take all of this information back and do all my like calculations and stuff, and we will come back with a maximum. So that city council meeting that's coming up will also be purely informational. We will give them the same exact information we are giving y'all. What we're looking for from you is really just the validity of the process. So do you agree with growth? Does that look good to you? And things like that. We want you to understand the process and say, yes, this process was good. This is like, we think that they did their due diligence. Everything looks good. And then we will also show you the rates. That will be the maximum that that the city is allowed to charge, and then the city council will decide what that rate actually is. We will present the maximum that can be charged, and then the council itself will decide what that number actually is.
And y'all would make that recommendation too, right? If they would make a recommendation.
The impact fee committee would make a recommendation to city council
Or-
on adopting up to this.
That
Yes, up
Yes.
to that amount, yes.
So for example, if they came back and said, we can, go up to $5,000 for water, then this body could say, we don't want to do 5,000, we want to do 4,000. You cannot go above that 5,000, you can.
And you make that recommendation to council, but council can say, no, we want to go to 5. Or we want to go to 3,500. It's council's final decision. Y'all are making a recommendation to that.
Yeah.
Now, that's why every 3 years you reevaluate that, because that's gonna dictate what you can go up or go down, or you are good where you're at.
So, on your, is this information, is it current, or is this from back 2022 or 2021?
So,
This
the
plan
water has,
that you have right here,
Yeah.
this is from 2022 to 2024.
Okay,
This is
2024, okay,
this is a report that happened.
okay.
The plan that's here, this copy, are the amendments that KPA has made to this plan.
so the amendments that the only amendments that we made is there were existing projects that have already been constructed. Those can't be recouped. There's, for water, we know there's 4 other projects that are gonna be needed within the next 10 years. So we amended what HAF had presented their CIP to include those 4 projects. For the wastewater, the project that they had proposed for the next 10 years, we didn't make any amendments to. We just removed, I think 3 or 4 that have already been constructed.
So the only thing that's been is lift stations, not a waste treatment plant.
No, we're not there yet. We're starting
I'm
the
just-
talks about that, but we're not there.
Yeah, that is correct. But and you can look at the plan, there's a wastewater plant expansion, I believe, as well as in the plan.
Okay, I'm just.
In the 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. That was left in
For
there,
this capital improvement.
Yeah, mm-hmm. You're fine.
I guess my question for you is looking at the growth projections. I know we're not at 2026, 2027, and so on and so on, and that's showing at 7.5. Whereas the previous years, we've seen it very high. How does that kind of play in effect for what is to come?
It will be updated with the next master plan.
Okay.
Those projections, we've got, that's why you have the 4 additional water projects, is because based off the growth rates that we're seeing, they appear to be outpacing what's being proposed. But we can't present that in time to be adopted now, so we felt like you've got a stopgap. Let's get where you need to be right now, and then in 3 years, we're gonna get you where you should be for sure. And it may adjust, the wastewater may come down, the water may go up, so it may all balance back out. We just don't know until we get our report and our CIP complete.
We're kind of trying to play catch up.
Yeah.
A little bit, so it's been so long since we updated things. We're wanting to hit that September 1st deadline. very aggressively because we're already playing catch up.
Yes.
So this is gonna give us some breathing room to still have the impact fees kind of where they need to be, and then give us the room for the next 3 years for them to do that master plan and do all their due diligence for it, and then be able to do this process over again.
And in essence, you really probably need to be doing this, it's gonna have to be done updated every 3 years. So this is gonna be just like city council and staff does an annual budget every year. You're gonna be on a 3-year cycle based off whatever schedules are gonna be required to have something adopted by the end of the 3rd year. By the end of August of the 3rd year, so by September 1, it's active, updating these to make sure that they're most current. City of Georgetown and others have been doing theirs annually. And they're in the same boat, because they're like, oh, now we have to wait 3 years. And as y'all know, they're experiencing the same thing y'all are, the significant amount of growth. The cost to serve, expansion and extend, and the cost of water is just skyrocketing. So we really want to get you up to where you need to be, catch you up where you are now, and we'll get you where you need to be on that next round.
So what is our rate compared to the other towns around?
Currently, that's what this,
I know you was up there, you showed it to me, so
yeah. So right now, you're $2,000 for water and $3,334 for wastewater. So a total of $5,300.
When we got to everybody coming this way?
Yeah, well, if you look, I mean, I wouldn't count Cedar Park because they're pretty much locked. Round Rock is pretty much locked, but they're at 7,800. Leander's 11,000. Hutto's 11,600. Pflugerville's 16,000. Georgetown's 17,100. Liberty Hill is 20,400, and Pflugerville's almost 30 total between the two. So, and y'all are 5,300 total.
Yeah, we're way down the
So we
line.
we want to get this thing so we can get y'all back to where.
Just out of curiosity, you don't have to know what the rates are for wastewater and water in those towns, do you?
I do
Just
not.
check.
I do not have that off the top of my head, no sir.
No.
Compared to y'all, but I would suspect they're higher.
Yeah, that was presented last week to city council, so I can get some of those numbers.
I was just curious.
Yeah, I don't know the rate, but I would anticipate
Yeah.
probably
Yeah,
higher.
we're like simultaneously doing both of them, so.
You got two pass rolling about the same.
Yeah.
Same.
But yeah, I can.
And if you have more questions about rates, we're actually doing the rate study. Nugent is doing the rate study right now. So if you have more questions about how all that works together, I can answer those questions for you.
How did you determine the rate?
Can we do that outside of, okay.
She knew
Yeah.
where I was going.
Can we do that outside of this meeting? Yeah.
Sure, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be quiet now.
Oh, please ask more questions.
No, it's.
I can talk all night.
Well,
Just need a glass of water. Any more questions for me or Sam or Andrew? You always have questions for Ron, so.
Yeah, they always have to.
That impact fee comparison is really
Let's tell me.
Yes.
eye-opener.
Yeah.
Eye-opening.
Which is important why we want to get this through and passed, because this impacts new developments. You don't want to have a 1,000-lot subdivision come in here and get done before these get enacted, because they get, you know what I mean? So we really want to get these.
Grandfather.
Yep, we want to get these in and adopted and moved up and, get them where they really need to be.
Okay.
I'm with you.
If y'all have any follow-up questions, you can email me. I'll shoot it. If I can't answer it, then I'll shoot it over to the appropriate consultant. Yeah. Thank you. So,
That's in here, right?
anything you want to add? You good? Okay.
Is everybody good on the timeline of what is coming next?
So the next meeting will have actual proposed fees from Nugent, and you guys will review those, make recommendations to city council. And the meeting after that will be city council officially adopting what they close the appropriate fee based off of the study from Nugent.
So we're gonna be at this one. What that's,
Our next impact fee committee is the 12th of August. Yes, sir.
I just wanna make sure.
But you still have P and Z in there also. So,
Yeah.
okay. And I think that's the 29th of July.
That's the one.
That's the one that you will not be at. Okay.
Well,
Nothing's too pressing on that one, I think it's just one plat and one construction plan.
This one.
Oh,
And bylaws, but I'll send that to you before you
He's
get
very-
any questions.
He's an engineer.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
And so he's like.
All right.
Well,
He's gonna talk rates next time.
Let me,
She said,
she talked, let me close the meeting and then we, okay. So hearing nothing further, we are joining the regular meeting of the Impact Fee Committee at 6:50 PM.
We're gonna do